Excited to start Parsha's Tetzav, Parsha's Kisiso. Can I ask you to close the door, please? Okay, we are in Parshat Kisiso, and today's Parsha is a very, very, what should we say? Heavy. Very good word. It's a heavy Parsha. Heavy. You ever ate a very heavy breakfast or a heavy dinner? You can't move afterwards. The Parsha has to do with the golden calf, which was obviously a very, very heavy story, a very difficult story. And the story of people accomplish some type of forgiveness on behalf of the Jewish people. Unfortunate situation, in every calamity, in every punishment that people are going through, there is also a teaspoon of golden calf mixed in. It's also part of it.
What about when Mashiach comes? Can you remember that?
Mashiach is also Mashiach is already the completion, and it's all going to be good. Bezrat Hashem. So there's a lot to talk, and the wisdom of this week's parsha is not to talk about everything, but rather to try to concentrate on something that we can grab and we can relate to. So I would like to go to chapter 33, verse 17, which is on page, those who have the blue chumashim, the one using shul, it's on page 540. Just look for it in your books on chapter 33, verse 14.
505.
Yeah, and the reason I chose that, because this is today's reading, Revi. So I said, you know what, instead of getting too complicated with such a long parsha, I'm going to look on today's day's reading. Today's is the fourth day. Every day we read one of the aliyot, and today is the day that we are reading the following. Basically, after Moshe asked Hashem to forgive them, and he also asked Hashem to continue traveling with them. So in the reading of that page on verse 13, Moshe, like a good Jewish leader and a Jewish man in general, turns to God and he says as follows. I'm reading and I want you to also have a chumash to look inside, because it's going to be difficult to keep all the details together unless we see it inside. He says on verse 13, Ve'ata, and now, if I have indeed found favor in your eyes, Moses says to God, please let me know your methods. Drochecha means your ways. Rashi explains, the commentaries explains, he wants to know, how do you reward people? How does it work? What do they get? How do they get it? And he tells them, Ve'idoacho, so that I may know, leman em tzachein beinecho. Then I will know what your rewards are, and then I can do the appropriate things to find favor in your eyes. Okay? Ure'ei says, Ki amcho agoy hazeh. This is a little complicated how to translate it literally. The meaning, the way it's written in the chumashim that we have over here, means my reward will be through this nation, you people, and not through a new nation. Which because God wanted to destroy this nation, bring another one, and said, no. Teach me what to do and how to do, and I wanted it to stay in the original group. Okay, go back now, turn to verse 17. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem says to Moses, Gam es hadover hazeh asher dibarto e'eseh. Even this thing that you have spoken, what did you spoke? That you asked me that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, should not rest on the nations, but rather on this nation. I'm going to do it. Ki motzos chen be'enai, you find favor in my eyes. Ve'doacho b'shem, I will distinguish you by name of importance. Okay. Comes Moshe after he's getting all these beautiful responses for reward and making him special. Vayoymar, and Moses says to Hashem, he saw that it's an appropriate time. He said, let me grasp the opportunity. God looks very happy with us at this moment. So he turns to God, and what does he say? 4 words. Hareini no et kvedecho. Please, show me your glory. Show me your glory. I want to see how your glory looks like, how your kavod looks like. Vayomer, so Hashem says to Moshe, Ani avir kol tuvi al ponecho. I will let all my goodness pass before you. Vekorosi b'shem Hashem lefonecho. I will proclaim the name of God before you. Okay? But at the same time, v'chanoisi es asher ochoin, v'richamtes asher arachem, I will still favor whoever I wish to favor, and I will have compassion for whomever I wish to have compassion. Not because I'm showing you my name, it means that everything goes. I still have a limit to how far do I go. Okay? Vayomer, continues verse 20, and God said, in other words, first he says, what was Moses asking in verse 18? Show me your glory. And God says, I'm going to pass all the goods before you, but I will still favor whoever I wish to favor, whatever that means. But what about the question, show me your glory? Says verse 20, Hashem says, God says, I'm sorry, you will not be able to see my face. Why? For no man can see me and live. And I want you to be alive. So in order for you to be alive, you're not able to see me. Hashem, and Hashem continued by saying, Ine mokoim iti, here there is a place ready for me, which is basically a place of hiding. So you will not be harmed by my presence. Benitzavto al atzur, and you should stand on the rock. I have a hidden place. You stand on the rock. Vehoyo ba'avor kvoidi, and my glory passes by. Vesamticho benikras atzur, I will place you into the cliff of the rock. Vesakoisi chapi olecho ad ovrin, I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. My hand, my palm is going to cover you at the cliff of the rock.
Cleft.
At the what?
Cleft.
Cleft of the rock. Cleft is like a hole in the rock, like a cave. Right. Vasiroisi escapi. Oh, Then I will remove my hand, and you will see my back. Upanai lo yero, but my face will not be seen. He asks, Hashem wants your glory. God says, you can't see my face. You see my face, you die. But I'm going to have you be on the cleft of a rock. I'm going to put my hand so you can pick out of that cleft. Once I leave, my hands are going to be removed. And then you can see my back and still not see my face. What is going on over here? Face, back, glory, rock, hands. Obviously, you read those 4 verses and you go Meshuggah. And you know clearly that I don't understand what's going on here. Matter of fact, if you look in Rashi, Rashi says even more. Rashi says that when God told Moses, I'm going to pass my goods before you, God showed Moses the order of prayer. He taught them how to seek out mercy. And he says, I'm going to pass by, wrapped in a talus, with tefillin, and I'm going to be like a chazan who is leading services, and that is followed with, we have next page, the 13 attributes of mercy that God revealed to him, that when they're going to say those 13 attributes of mercy, Hashem, Hashem, Kel, Rachum, Vechanun, that is going to bring about the forgiveness, the atonement, and reminding about the covenant that we have with them. Talis, tefillin, this is too much for me. And if you wear a talis, Hashem is wearing a talis, Hashem is wearing tefillin. What does it say in his tefillin? What color is his talis made? Chabad talis, Ashkenazic talis. What is going on over here? I'm short, so I'm going to concentrate just on one of the 3 words that we just read. V'ra'ita et achorai. And you're going to see my back, says Rashi from the Talmud. This Talmud is in Tractate Brachot. In one place, it's also brought down in another place in the Talmud, Menachos. And the Gemara says in the name of Rab Chana bar Bizna. Rav Chana bar Bizna said, Melamei chehero lo yakodesh baruch hu kesher shel tefillin. That God showed Moses the knot of the tefillin behind his neck, behind his head, by the neck. I guess show them, so you had to remove the talus, because when the talus is up to your head, then you can't see the kesher shel tefillin either. But that's what Rashi says in the Chumash. And Rashi takes us straight from the Gemara. That's what actually the Gemara says. The Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed for Moshe the knot of the tefillin. And obviously, when you see these words, you also wonder what kind of revelation is that? Showing him the neck, showing him the knot of the tefillin. We're talking about the sin of the golden calf. What does the sin of the golden calf have to do with the knot of the tefillin? Ma kesher, what is the connection one to the other? The question is mainly Rashi, which is obviously explaining things on the more simple understanding, makes it a little complicated when he starts getting into these knots of tefillin that God has. Because imagine if Rashi wouldn't say anything. And we are children in school studying Chumash with our teacher. Young children. And our teacher reads us that verse. God says, you cannot see my face, you can see my back. would we assume that God has a face or a back?
Whenever
No.
you're a child,
No, children even don't assume it. They know God is something unphysical, and the fact that it says name, face, back, it's like me having the Torah. God, he saw the hand of Hashem, and he saw the Hashem lifted up with his right arm, and everybody knows God looked, and everybody knows there's no eyes, there's no arm. Rather, what is it? The metaphor for what those ideas are presented in the physical human body down here in this world, because we only know our physical appearances. So the way to relate to us esoteric information is by using and adapting the words and the ideas the way it is being, what is being associated down in this world. So for example, when I hear that God says, you can't see my face, you can see my back, I would immediately deduct from it, which most people would do. Face represents what? Revelation. You see the person by his face. His face radiates his personality. The senses, human senses are revealed to the face. You can see your eyes, your mouth, your ears, your nose. That's what the face represents. So when we speak about revealing yourself, God showing himself, we say use this face. We show this face, even though he has no face. It means that he related to us. He revealed himself to us. When you look at a person from his back, the most you can get is what size is he. But you have no idea about what the person is. Is he white? Is he black? Is he wise? Is he stupid? You don't know nothing. Is he smiling now? Is he not smiling? Is he happy? Is he sad? You don't see nothing. You see a back. A back, you can all look the same from the back. So when God says you can see me by back, but not by face, we can simply translate it as meaning that you're not going to see me in my open, revealed manner, which is impossible, but you can see the way I relate to the world, the way I allow myself to be understood by the world, and things like that. It doesn't have to be a knot of tefillin to talk about the back.
why does the tefillin and why does the talis have to be the same as what we have? These guys,
And why is it a talus and still have to be? So what is the talus and what is the tefillin? Exactly. And especially, like we said, Rashi says, after God told Moshe, I'm going to pass my goodness before your face. So Rashi has a very interesting explanation, which is also in the Medrash and the Talmud, that God told Moses, the time has come that you should see my glory. You should see my glory with what I allow you to see. And he says, the way you're going to see it, I'm going to teach you the order of prayer. It's called Seder Bakashat Rachamim, the order of seeking out mercy. And the way you see me, God says, wrapped in a talus, reading the 13 attributes of mercy, please teach the Jewish people that they should do too when they are seeking mercy. And that's what we do at a public fast, at Slichot services, when you're asking special forgiveness, sit with that talus, you ask for mercy, you say Hashem Hashem, Ken Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Hapayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, you know, all the 13 attributes of mercy, which is all about that lesson that Moses got when God tells him, I'm going to pass my goods before you. And following that, he says, and don't see my face, see my back. And what does he show him? The knot of his tefillin. What is going on? The Rebbe, I'm going to say a short things from the Rebbe, and then I also want to say something interesting from the Kliyok. The Rebbe discusses it, obviously, in one of his talks, which even that, I tried last night to this morning to understand. I wasn't clear. I was to be honest. I didn't get this whole explanation with the knot of the tefillin. It's a Farbrengen, 1978, Motzei Shabbat Kisisa. I even listened to it because it was Rebbe Farbrengen, 1977. It was after the Rebbe had a heart attack of Simchas Torah. So he started Farbrengen Saturday night instead of Shabbos. So like in everything negative, there's always something positive. The positive thing which came out from this whole situation, that we have recordings of the Farbrengen. We don't have recordings of the Shabbos Farbrengen, but from the Saturday night, because it was always Saturday night, that year, particularly 1977, 78, so we have recordings of the Farbrengen, long Farbrengens, and the Rebbe spoke about this Rashi elaborating, but I somehow am still working on it. There's one very interesting point that Rebbe makes in that talk, which does make sense. Very interesting. He says the very fact that while Hashem is teaching Moshe the order of services, especially services which involve seeking mercy, which is lechot mainly, and while it happens, he shows him the knot of his tefillin, that obviously emphasizes, and I will come later to Hashem's tefillin, but let's think about tefillin without even being abstract about it. Think about your tefillin. That obviously shows that the knot of the tefillin is not something secondary to this whole asking of mercy, the order of asking for mercy. Rather, this is something which is critical and important in this whole idea. And the Rebbe goes as follows. Very interesting. The one that is very simple, but it's so mind-boggling. It says us this: you just sinned with the sin of the golden calf, right? And what are you coming to ask for? Mercy. Moses is asking for mercy. And the question is to Moses, on which basis are you asking for mercy? But how can you advocate for that? In other words, the question is not only about Moses. The question is about every person. Once you went against God's will, let's call it by name, you sinned against God's will, on which right, on which basis are you going now to approach God and say, please forgive me? I'm sorry. Be merciful upon me. What's your approach? What's your argument? What's your claim? A second. Just a second. The question is, if you think about it, the question is truly about sin in general. How is it possible a Yid, a Jew, which they are called as Ma'aminim, Bnei Ma'aminim, they are believers, they are descendants of believers. How can they even come to sin? If you, in your inner heart, you believe in Hashem, you know that He created the world. You know that every moment you learn Chassidus, Kabbalah, Tanya, you know that not only did He create the worlds at some who knows when before, but every day, in every moment of the day, the world gets recreated, like we say by davening, Amechadesh, Betuvoi, Bechol, Yoim, Tomid, Masei, Bereshis. God, you are renewing with your goodness every single day. You renew the works of Bereshis, the works of Genesis. You are creating the world. So, going against God to sin is right there. You using the moment that He brought you alive. This is the moment of existence is a gift which was just renewed. That moment that you are alive. In the very same moment, you go against the one who brought you alive, who brings you alive, who sustains you alive. How does it work? So the Kabbalah says something very simple. You know where sin comes from? It's called shikha. You know shikha means shocheach. Forgot. You forget. You know it all. Every Jew knows that he's being supported and sustained and created and recreated on every given moment by God. But simply, there is knowing and then there is forgetting. That's what you know you can forget. Doesn't mean that you don't know it, right? You knew it and you forgot about it. So a person.
What about the evil inclination? Isn't that always with us? Maybe that makes us
That causes you to forget.
Yeah.
You gave in to him, so he causes you to forget. But the idea is that moment of sin, and this is the powerful concept over here, that the moment of sin is a moment of forgetfulness. We call it a senile moment. Senile. I was going to say senior, but I'm already a senior too.
We're all senior.
I don't want to embarrass myself. I said a senile moment. Sometimes they are very much related, but the idea is you should forget. You don't remember and you don't feel at this moment how the truth of godliness is what occupies every part of creation. And the moment you would remind yourself on it, obviously that will nullify all this negative activity, and you would be involved in learning Torah, speak all the mitzvahs perfectly, to do everything for the sake of God, and you wouldn't even think to conduct yourself in any way different than what God wants you. But you forgot. Forgetting is coming from the word of klipa. Klipa is the definition for the evil powers in Kabbalah. And that's what forgetfulness comes from. So what is asking mercy from God? Simply means I remind myself. I reactivate my memory. You remind yourself that the truth is that God is the truth. And the entire concept of sin came as what? Came as a mistake. Came because I forgot. So you remind yourself. So the whole idea of tshuva is just simply to remind yourself who you really are and where do you belong. Said the Rebbe, that's why God appears to Moshe in Talis and Tefillin. Because both of those mitzvot, their message is to remember. What does it say by tzitzit? Ureitem oto uschartem et kol mitzvot. You see the tzitzit, and what happens to you? You remind yourself of all the mitzvot. What does it say by tefillin? Vayule zikaron beneinecha. It should be as a remembrance between your eyes. So when Hashem comes and he shows Moshe the order of how to seek out mercy, he appears in the image of wrapping himself in a talit and wearing that tefillin, and that is mitzvahs which are associated with what? With remembering. And this remembering is what fixes the sin, in what uproots the sin, because that's what happens to you. You forgot. It comes in advocates that the person simply forgot. And God tells Moshe, just tell him next time, just to remember.
How many times can you forget?
How many times? Come to my life. And especially, and especially does it have to do with the knot of the tefillin, because knot is also a emphasis of remembering. It says in halacha, actually, in Jewish law, it's brought down in regard to a number of things that people who would want to remember something, you make yourself a knot. People say you make a knippel. It's called a knippel in Yiddish, and that's how you want to remember something. So instead of writing it down on a notebook and then you're not going to remember that you wrote it down, or put it in your WhatsApp as a voice note to yourself, and you're going to forget to listen to it. Instead, you make a knippel.
That's why they have rubber bands today. The same thing.
Yeah.
The rubber band.
Oh, it's a reminder.
Yes.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. know my wife is carrying one. Someone gave you for the hostages or something.
No, but it's a smaller one. It would
Yeah.
snap, and the action of snapping reminds you of.
Right. So what is basically Hashem telling Moshe? How can you fix the sin? Chet ha'egel, any sin, is to do what? Strengthen your zikaron, strengthen your memory, and remind yourself of God, and remind yourself of the fact that He's the one who creates and runs the world. So this is what the Rebbe says. One of the points that the Rebbe says. That's what the knot of the tefillin. The knot of the tefillin is what holds the tefillin on the head, and that shows the idea of remembering, not just the tefillin itself. It's the way the tefillin is knotted, the way the tefillin is tied to your head with a knot, and that's the tikkun. The tikkun for sin, which is what forgetting, is zikaron. That's what tefillin and tzitzit do. But then I saw something very interesting in the Kli Yakar. Kli Yakar, we mentioned many times. It's printed in some of the Chumashim. It's a commentary on the Chumash. He lived a little over 500 years ago in Prague. He's buried, those who had a privilege, I know Avram was there, David also, in the cemetery in Prague. I was there with my Vidroch's grandfather in 1994. So he's buried right next to Maharal of Prague. They are buried next to Rabbi Levi, the famous Maharal. There's a big tombstone. Next to them is this rabbi who wrote a commentary, Kli Yakar. He wrote a book called Olelot Ephraim. He was one of the rabbis of Prague. Prague had very great scholarly sages and rabbis, and apparently a very famous Jewish community in many ways. Not only 500 years ago, even 300 years ago, 200 years ago, Prague was a very central scholarly city in that area of the world in Europe. Sometimes it was part of Slovakia, sometimes it was part of Czechia, sometimes it was Bohemia or something. I don't know.
Bohemia. Bohemia?
Bohemia, not Bohemia.
Maybe.
Never.
It's in that little corner where all the countries kind of come.
Yeah, the Austro-Hungarian.
Hungarian, obviously. Always Prague. Prague was a very known city. So he writes something very special regarding the tefillin. First of all, we all understand that tefillin is called glory. That's why on Tisha B'Av, you're not wearing tefillin in the morning, because it's too glorified. So we keep it for later in the afternoon when the day is less in a state of mourning, because it's called Pe'er. Pe'er means glory, and it's not a time for Pe'er. Actually, Tisha B'Av, it says, you change the letters of Pe'er, Pei, Aleph, Reish, which means glory, you change to Aleph, Pei, Reish, which means Efer, ashes. You're like a mourner in ashes. You don't put on tefillin on Tisha B'Av morning. But that's what tefillin represent, even on the pasuk that we sing on Purim, La Yehudim Haita Ora Besimcha Besason B'ikar. So the Talmud says, what does it mean? The Jewish people had Ora, Simcha, Sason B'ikar. It's not just expressions of joy, but Ora, says the Gemara, the light means the Torah. Simcha, joy, means Yom Tov. Sason, another form of joy, refers to Brit Milah. And Yekar means expensive, glorified, and majesty. This preciousness, that refers to tefillin. Yekar is tefillin. That's what tefillin are. So obviously, when God is wearing with tefillin, so to speak, that reflects the glory of God, right? Because what did Moshe say? Areni na et kvadecha, show me your glory. So Hashem said, here is my glory. My glory is that I have my tefillin on. This is the crown. Matter of fact, in that tefillin, it talks about the performing of miracles in Egypt, right? לאות עלייתך, זיכרון בין עיניך, כביד חזקה, הוציאך השם ממצרים. It talks about the miracles of Egypt, which is a part of God's glory, that He acts miraculously. It transcends nature. It dominates nature, etc., etc. The Kli Yakar, and here we're going to come to Hashem's Tefillin in a moment. He comes with another interesting twist about the knot of the Tefillin. He doesn't discuss it in this week's Parsha. He actually talks about it in Chumash Dvarim, and the verse Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And according to the Kli Yakar, that's the name of the commentary, it's not about Hashem's glory. Actually, Hashem shows Moshe the glory of the Jewish people. And he gives them a message. You want to understand me? Let me show you my neck. Let me show you my knot of tefillin. And you're going to see that I'm not going to leave them. It's impossible for me to leave. What does it have to do? So he says something as follows. If you look in the Torah scroll, the letters of the Torah, so very unusual from time to time, but very few places you have a letter which is either larger or smaller than the other letters. For example, Vayikra, the book of Vayikra, has a very tiny aleph. And there's all kinds of insight to why there is a tiny aleph on the Vayikra. When it comes to the letter Shema, the verse Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the ayin of Shema is a large ayin, larger than the usual letter. And the Dalet of Echad is also a large Dalet. In every Torah scroll, you can look it up in Parsha V'Eschanan, you're going to see that the ayin of Shema is larger than any other letter, and the Dalet of Echad is larger than the letters which are in the same verse. What is the letter ayin and dalet joining together? What word in Hebrew does it make? Ed. What does ed mean? Witness. Very good. So what does ayin dalet mean? So it says in the Medrash that there is a concept of aid, idea, it's actually a verse in Isaiah. Atem eidai neum Hashem. You are my witnesses, God says. Hashem's witnesses. Unfortunately, it's a word that was adopted by some other religions, and they even name themselves by using that verse. But the verse is in chapter 43 in Isaiah, Atem eidai. You are my testimonials, says God. Atem eidai neum Hashem.
Also in Alenu Nishabeach.
What's that?
And then the second paragraph starts with the Dalet.
Real?
Alenu Nishabeach starts with Ayin.
Right.
And then the second one starts with Ve'ad.
עלינו ירדן הכל,
And then the next paragraph.
ואנחנו קוראים, ומודים,
No, and then after
ועל כן נקווה. So would you have had, the ayin, ועל כן נקווה, okay? There's two ayins.
There was something I heard about that.
Aleinu and Alkein, both have ayin. Maybe in the end, Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad.
Yeah, maybe.
That's right. Aleinu starts with the ayin, very good. And it ends with a dalet.
Yeah.
Starts Aleinu Leshabeach, ayin, and it ends U'Shmo Echad, dalet. Very good. Very nice. So you both have also the letter ayin. Let me tell you now about this testimony that we just read. Ed, where's the testimony taking place and how does it take place? I'll tell you a Gemara. Gemara in Chagiga. Listen to the Gemara in Chagiga, right in the beginning of Chagiga. Page 3 says the Gemara, very interesting Gemara. The Gemara tells us a story. The Gemara tells us a story that it was Rabbi Yochanan, page Gimel Bet, page 3b. Says the Gemara story, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka and Rabbi Eliezer ben Chisma went to visit the Rabbi Yoshua in the city of Pekin. You know, Pekin is a famous town in Israel because Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was hiding in the cave for 12 years. It was in the city of Pekin. They still have a place that they show as identify as the cave of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. He was hiding from the Romans. So they had a teacher, a master. His name was Rabbi Yeshua, and they went to visit him on the Yom Tov. So Rabbi Yeshua said to them, "Ma chidush haya b'bet medrash hayom?" What novel teaching was taught in the study hall today? Meaning you come from yeshiva, tell me something that you learned, something special. Rabbi Yeshua lived in Pekin, I guess he did not have a yeshiva, and here you wanted to hear something in your yeshiva. So they said, I'm sorry, Talmidecha anu, meimecha anu shotim, we are you disciples, we drink you water. I want you to hear from you. We're not looking for us to share with you. So he said, no, still, en bet medrash belo chidush. It's impossible to have a whole scholarly study hall without any novel teachings. Tell me something good. And he asks them, who was giving the lecture that Shabbat? They told them it was the Shabbat of Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. Remember him from the Passover Agada? They feel like himself a 70. It was the Shabbat. And first they shared one of the novel teachings of Rabbi ben Azariah, which I'm going to skip for now. And then they said that something else did he teach. Ve'od darash. Rabbi ben Azariah spoke something else. There is a verse in the book of Dvarim which says, "Et Hashem hemarta ayom, ve'Hashem mircha ayom." The verse says that you have praised Hashem today, and Hashem has praised you today. So he explained that God says to the Jewish people, "You have made me a subject of unique praise in this world, and I will make you a subject of unique praise also in this world." What does it refer to? So he says like this: you have made me a subject of unique praise in this world, because it's written, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. A Jew constantly declares that God is the only one. So you have made me unique in your praise. I will also make you unique. How? Because there is also a verse which says, Umi ke'amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. Who is like you people Israel, a unique nation on the earth. You called me unique. Echad. I call you echad. This is what Messiah said. Says Tosfot, that's what we see over here, that God is making the Jewish people unique and we are making him unique. Says Tosfot, there is a medrash which actually explains it a little more, precise. The medrash says that there are three who are testifying about each other: Jewish people, Shabbos, and God. The Jewish people and God testify on Shabbos that it is a day of rest. The Jewish people and Shabbos testify on God that he is one and unique. God and Shabbos testify on the Jewish people that they are the only unique ones among all the nations. Says the Medrash, that's why when it comes on Shabbos afternoon by Mincha, we say, by Amida, Ata Echad, Veshimcha Echad, you are one, your name is one, Miki Amcha Yisrael, Goy Echad Ba'aret, who is like you people Israel, one nation in the world. What does it come into Shabbos prayers? We don't say it Friday night. We don't say it Shabbos day. Where is this paragraph, Ata Echad? How did that end up in Aramida of Shabbat Mincha? Says Tosfot, it doesn't talk anything about Shabbos. It talks about God being one, we being one. I thought the whole idea is to speak the Shabbos is one. Comes by Mincha, you just finished the Kiddush, you're all excited, and what do you say? God one, I'm one, and what about Shabbos? There's the Medrash. You know he's saying it. Shabbos is saying it. After the Jewish people and God testified on Shabbos, me made Kiddush the night before. And me followed Shabbos properly. We made it at the Avreh. And after the Jewish people in Shabbos testified on God that is one, we said Shema Yisrael and we davened properly. We kept Shabbos. And we said that this is the Avreh. Comes the Shabbos. And he says, let me testify about both of you, that you are unique, that you are one. And this is the story of testifying about each other. Everybody's making love. Okay? If people with Shabbos is frail. Where is this testimony? Where is this testimony? Where is this testimony recorded? There is an amazing Gemara in Brachas, the Kli Yakar brings. The Kli Yakar brings a Gemara in Brachas which talks about God wearing tefillin. And the Gemara says, page 6 in Brachot, the following. Says Rab Abin, the son of Rav Ade, in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak. From where is it derived that God does put on tefillin? That God dons tefillin. So first the Gemara brings a verse in Isaiah which says, Nishba Hashem bi'imino, that God swore by his right hand, ubizra uzo, and by the arm of his strength. What did he swear? When you swear, you need to hold something holy. So it says that he was swearing with his right hand and with the strength of his arm. The right refers to the Torah, like it says regarding Torah, mi yemino esh dat lamo, from his right hand he presented a fiery Torah. And when it says in the arm of his strength, it refers to tefillin. And the tefillin is Oz, tefillin is Hashem Oz la'amo yitem, and that Hashem gave strength to his people. Like we say, Hashem Oz la'amo yitem, Hashem yevarech damo v'shalom. Hashem Oz, what is Oz? Strength. Where is it alluded that he gave us strength? What does it allude to? He gave us tefillin. Says the Gemara, how do we know that tefillin is our strength? Says the Gemara, because it says, V'ra'u kol amei haaretz, ki shem Hashem nikra alecha v'yaru mimecha. It says that the nations of the world will see that the name of God is called upon you and they will be in awe of you. What are they going to see? Says the Gemara, they're going to see you wearing tefillin. When the nation will see you tefillin, they are going to get scared, get agitated, get nervous, and know that God is with you.
And what is the parchment in your arm?
A minute. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak asked Rav Chia bar Rabin, Hanei tefillin the more alme ma ksiv behu. This tefillin of the Master of the Universe, what is written in them? In our tefillin, we know what is written. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We are declaring that God is one. What is it written in God's tefillin? You know what he answers? The same verse. That who is like my people Israel, one nation upon the earth. So the Gemara says, does God praise himself with the Jewish people? We are praising ourselves with God. What does he praise with us? The Gemara says, yes. And he brings the same story that we read it before from Chagiga. It says that you had made Hashem unique, he made you unique. You made them unique by saying Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He made you unique by saying Mi ke'amcha Yisrael b'yachad ba'aretz. In other words, what does tefillin represent when we speak about God putting on tefillin? that we are his people. Just like Artfield says that God is. It's the praise of the Jewish people. Says the Kliyakar. This is his words. When it says that God showed Moses the knot of the tefillin, means just like we are tying in our heart and our arm the unity of God, so God puts us on his arm to make us into one nation on earth. And this is the knot that we have between us. We are testifying about him, he is testifying about us. Ed, Ayin Dalet, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The knot is what? The tefillin that he wears. So when Hashem comes to Moshe, and he reveals himself there by the cleft of the rock, and he shows them the tefillin, what does Hashem tell Moshe? They sinned, they did wrong, and you're worried, and I'm worried, but I'm not really ultimately too much worried. And I will forgive them. Why? Because I have my tefillin. And if you look at my tefillin, what are you going to find? That I have no one else. This is my people. That's like they praise me, they testify about me, I testify about them. They are always connected to me. They are always connected to me. That's actually what the tefillin says. My Yisrael, ve'oaftas Hashem Elokecha. This is what Hashem's tefillin is. To the point they say a story about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Aberditchev. Once he davened, sometimes he used to talk to God kind of outside of the context of prayer. And he says, Master of the world, listen, you have no choice. You have to forgive the Jewish people for whatever wrong they're doing. And if you forgive them, it's good. And if not, I will tell you a secret. That your tefillin is pasul. That your tefillin is disqualified. Why? Because the Gemara, it says that in your tefillin is written that what? Mi ke'amcha Yisrael. Who is like my people Israel, one nation in the world. If you don't forgive them, then this verse is not fulfilled. Then your tefillin is disqualified. Your tefillin is disqualified. You actually say another story upon once the Yitzchak Aberditchev once in shul, and he saw a Yid, simple Jew, after davening, like we all do, young toss his tefillin, and when he's about to take off the tefillin off his head, it kind of almost fell out of his hand, and he jumped, quickly to grab them before, God forbid, the tefillin was going to fall on the floor. The Yid chaps his tefillin, gives him a warm kiss. But Ditchever looks up to heaven and says, you also put on tefillin. What does it say in your tefillin? Mi ke'amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. Who is like your people Israel, one nation of the world? Look, your tefillin is on the floor for a long time. Don't you see how people are picking up tefillin? How careful they are that tefillin got to reach and end up on the floor? It can't be less than this simple Jew. Take a look the way he grabbed this tefillin in order to pick them up. So here you see, like I said, in all the commentary from this big Parsha, Ramban, Chaim HaKadosh, everybody, this Parsha they have, everybody's dashing in the eagle. And we can also, we just shared 3 words, the one Rashi about the tefillin, giving us an insight, but a very important insight, that coming after Chet HaEgel, and God is showing Hashem Moshe how to pray and how to ask for mercy. And he says, you're going to talk about, warn them about my kavod. Let them remember my honor to be respected. That's what my tefillin represent. I took them out of Egypt. I took care of them. Come on. Let them not forget. Kesher shel tefillin. Kesher is what? Make a knippel. All the sins come because they forget. It's all about the problem of losing memory. Klippa is shikra. In Kedusha, there is no shikra. In holiness, you don't forget. And now, not only that, as the Rebbe says, but as the Kliyokar also says, it's not just my glory. When I'm wearing my tefillin, then there is hope. Because that's what it represents. They are always connected. That's what the kesher. Very nice. I got a final recognition by David Schneider. You made my day. Who were you for the last 28 years? I'm waiting to hear those words.
I didn't want you to get too
Big
big.
Now you know I'm going to forget it anyway. Okay, my friend. Put on your tefillin, those who have tefillin, and remember that the knot of tefillin is a reminder that we are always tied and no one can disconnect us. Right, Bernard? Right or not?
Yes.
Oh. Everybody misses you here. You're hiding in Wooden Wheel, not Wooden Wheel. Why are you in Tukwila?
Yeah. Work. Too much work. Not enough time.
Make sure you fix all the doors on the Boeing planes. I'm planning to go to California, to New York, so I don't want to fall out the door. God forbid.
We'll
God
take.
bless you all. Thank you very much. Get
Thank
ready
you.
for Purim. Not too long from now. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. Laila Tov.
Laila Tova.
Thank you.
Very welcome.